Good morning, I'm Lynn and welcome to Ewetopia Farms. We've got someone doing repairs at the farm today, so Arnie's still in the house with him, but chores don't get done on their own, so we better get started. We're gonna peek at the rams because I thought they were all really nice and calm. There's the boys. They're still nice and quiet. You see, these guys don't associate me with food, so they stay quiet. If they see Arnie, they'll all get up and start screaming. But Scotty's here. I think he's looking for his food, so we'll get him fed now. This is what it looks like on the farm when we're not feeding sheep. I'm gonna go around and do my normal thing, the drinkers and the salt mineral feeders, and hopefully these guys will stay quiet. Because I'm not Arnie. Not too many sheep in this main part of the barn because all the mums and lambs are gone to the coveralls. And we got these stragglers waiting here. Hi girls. You're taking your time, I can see that. You want to have Christmas babies, that's what you want? Okay, that's okay. Oh, that's not a good sign. There's always something on the farm, eh? Honey, are you stuck upside down? Hope you're okay. This is called being cast. She lay down, got stuck in a little dip, and because she's heavy, she can't get back up. So I'm going to put my camera down. I got her up, but you got to realize these ewes are pregnant. We're assuming they're all quite pregnant. She got up and ran off, but she was very lopsided, but hopefully once she stands up for a while, she'll be okay. Here she is. This one in the middle here. She gave a little shake, but you can see now her body's all lopsided because she could have been like that all night long. They can actually die from that. We haven't had a cast sheep for quite some time now. So you don't like to see that, especially when she's got lambs. And it usually happens more when they are pregnant because they've got that added weight on them. So she would have fallen asleep in just a little dip and tipped over, and once her legs are off the ground and can't get purchased, she can't get back up again. It's a terrible way to lose a sheep because it's such a preventable thing. I mean, if you're there, but if you're not there, there's not much you can do about it. But she's standing, and hopefully she'll calm down and her body will stabilize. See, she's lopsided because all of her insides have moved forward to her left-hand side. But even as I stand here, I can see it's settling back down and evening out. So, you know, if she's one of the early pregnant ones, that could have been lambs, and they could be just settling back down into their normal position now. We don't know, but hopefully she's okay. And here's Handsome, and we're in a breeding group with a ram. He's come up to me, and we know from past experience with Handsome that he can be a hitter. But obviously I had to come in here quickly to deal with that ewe. He's here, he's not trying to hit me. But Handsome is one that I watch very carefully in breeding groups. He's normally a really nice ram, but he likes attention and he goes about getting it in the wrong way. Hi, not like you. You go about getting attention in the very right way. Yeah, you do. This is Radar. I don't know if you remember her as a lamb. She got called Radar because she had such long ears compared to her body. How you feeling, sweetheart? Are you feeling a little better now? Thank goodness we got in here. Poor girl. Scary. But as you can see, aside from that little kerfuffle with the ewe, it's pretty quiet in the barns right now because Arnie's not here. When Arnie does come to the barn, he'll go straight to the grain bin and he'll turn it on. And when he turns it on, there's like a whir and a swishing sound as the grain starts to fall into the bin. And at that point, every sheep in the barn will start screaming. That's behavioral conditioning there. They know what that sound means, and it gets them all excited. But I like working in quiet conditions. Oh, you see? I heard a gate. Dogs are barking. Arnie is feeding the rams out there, so it's getting a little louder. You see? He's just poured the grain out for the rams. So they're all quietly eating. Once they're eating, it's quiet. It's that anticipation of the food, or the yells for hurry up, I'm hungry, that can be deafening. Okay, I am in here with the ewes still, and I see there's a lot of friendly ones in here. And these are the ewes that we're in with Quincy and Hilton, and they went in earlier than we normally put a ram in because they were new lambs. And to me, they look pregnant. So these guys could be just a little more than midway through their pregnancy. And when they're pregnant, they tend to be more quiet and friendly like this. They don't want to be running around anymore. That's usually how you can tell an open sheep in a group like this, because the pregnant girls just want to take it easy. And the ones that aren't bred, they still want to have fun. You know what they say, girls just want to have fun. Here comes the noise now, because Arnie's arrived. You gotta make sure that that ewe comes to the feeder and that she's okay. And so once all these are fed, I'll just quickly look and make sure that everyone's in at the feeder. But I'm thinking these girls, Handsome's not doing any breeding again today, and we got a lot of tubby looking girls in here. I'm thinking that Quincy and Hilton were doing their job, and these guys are well on their way in their pregnancy. We had a cast ewe this morning in here. What? A cast ewe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was upside down. She was quite lopsided. I just wanted to make sure everyone's eating.
What kind of sex was it?
Well, I'm thinking they're pregnant. Look at the bellies on them. And she, when she got up, it was like all the lambs were on one side.
Well, there's no action with the ram at all.
No.
So I'm thinking that,
I'm thinking they're bred.
You would have seen someone trigger by now.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's what we wanted out from.
But everyone's eating, eh?
Yeah.
You might see her. She had her belly was all swollen on one side, obviously.
She looks fine.
But looks like everyone's at the trough.
That's the problem. They roll on their back. And when they're itchy, you see, they're...
Well, and she was in this dip right over up front here, where you've got the uneven ground. She lay there and couldn't get back up. So today we're just going to film a typical day on our farm. And a typical day, as you could see by the start with the cast ewe, is not always typical. But what is typical is that there's always something happening. Always something new. Always something you have to deal with. But everyone looks good in here. I've cleaned all the drinkers in this barn. Knocked down these salt and minerals so that they have easy access to their supplements here. And the cast ewe is eating, so I'm assuming we got her in time and there will be no fatalities. And everyone looks like they're eating really well. So we're gonna head on over to the coveralls, feed them, and see if there's anything we have to deal with in those barns today. Okay, I've just made up the lamb's bottles, so we're gonna head on over to the coverall now because this barn is done. This barn is always very, very noisy in the morning until they get their breakfast cereal. Hi Seymour, hi you guys. So I'm gonna try feed these bottle babies before Arnie gets here. These guys have it down pat now. Arnie's still not here, but these guys are having their morning milk. Some of them are kind of crisscrossed. They're not in a nice row, but at least they got hold. Come on, you guys. Get in a nice row. Sorted Calamity out, so she's not crisscrossed. Big number 2, he's big enough that he can drink that way. Arnie has arrived with the grain, so shortly the noise in here will disappear. When the ewes are at the trough, we quickly do a scan of the lambs to make sure that everybody's looking healthy, that nobody's hunched up or limping or curled up in a corner somewhere. But everybody looks great today. That's what we like to see. We have our ewe and lambs divided into groups of 30. We find after 30 the groups are too large, and that's when you get lamb injuries. You'll get more broken legs and stuff because of getting trampled. You'll encounter more cases of diarrhea and any other illness that's caused just by overcrowding. Now once these guys are 2 months old, we will join them up with the group on the other side, but at that point we're going to take down the dividing wall and we'll have them free roaming on the entire side of the barn. So even though there will be more ewes and lambs, the lambs will be bigger, less susceptible to getting injured and getting things like diarrhea, and technically the space ratio will be exactly the same because we'll have freed up another pen and be running them together. But it's easier to feed them when they're all in one big group, and they actually have a more fun time, the lambs, running back and forth in really big pens. But until we reach that stage, 30 seems to be the magic number for us keeping everyone healthy. As our regular viewers know, we run our farm partial confinement and partial pasture grazing. At this time of year, it's fall here in Canada. Over the summer, a lot of our pastures got dried out, so they were inside letting the pastures regrow. Now that it's fall, we have all our replacement animals are free to come and go onto pasture, and also our rams are out on pasture. They're back there. They're spread out all across their pasture back in the front field. However, we have fall lambs. They stay indoors with their moms in these coverall barns, and we do not put them out on pasture, and the reason for that is we never graze our ewes and lambs together. We find you encounter way more parasite problems when you do that, and our goal is to get those lambs up to weight so that the market lambs can get to marker quicker, and so that our other lambs, which will be held back as breeding stock for sale to other farms, will have a healthy start to life. When they get parasites as lambs, it sets them back quite a bit. And we want them to be on a positive trajectory throughout their lamb life. So they're indoors. And also, our breeding groups are all indoors for similar reasons. Out on pasture, there is always that risk of parasites, and we don't want to be deworming and catching or having used loose condition because of parasites while they're breeding and while they're pregnant. So at the moment, we are breeding all our sheep for our January, February, March lambings, and they're all in the barns right now. In the summer, once lambs have gone, then everybody is free to go out on pasture. Barns with the lambs in all have a creep area so that the lambs can go in and eat privately away from the moms, and they get a ration that's higher in protein than the mums would get. So both of these pens have that. Hi, you guys. Hi. So we feed them that fresh every day too. We don't put a whole bunch out and let them have at it for a month. We find that putting it in fresh every day, although it may take you a couple of minutes extra each day, the lambs eat it more. The ewes and lambs, well, all the sheep, prefer it if you give them fresh feed rather than it sitting there and kind of getting stagnant. You know, if you open a package of cookies or something, if you put it on a plate and left it there for a month, they'd all go soft and soggy and it wouldn't be palatable anymore. Whereas if you keep it sealed up and have a bit each day, it retains its freshness. It's kind of like the same thing with feeding sheep. And like I said, while we're doing morning chores, we're not just doing the chores and running in and running out. We do spend a lot of time with our sheep, getting to know them and stuff, so we have really tame sheep here. But it's also a good opportunity to gauge their condition and their health. So with ewes, for instance, when they're lined up at the feeders like this is my opportunity to look at udders. They're nursing now, so we don't want to see anyone with an engorged udder or it being really lopsided or something like that. So it's a really easy way to look at what's going on with their health as well, their udder health. And you want to see them like that. You want to see them nice color, tight up there still, even on both sides. That's a sign that all is going well with them and with their lambs. So this barn's done. Everybody's been fed. Everybody's doing okay. So now we move on to the next coverall. So this is the coverall with the Suffolk breeding groups. They've all been fed their grain and they have no hay left. They are not going out on pasture because we got 3 breeding groups going here. We got one large one here with our Ram Geronimo, and then on this side at the front we have Snappy's group, and behind that divider we have Jethro's group. So again, before I go in here, I'm going to monitor, is everybody eating? Everybody is at the trough, so there are no problems happening here. If somebody is hanging back and not eating in with the group, it's a sure sign there's a problem. But all looks good in here, so again, same routine. I'm going to go in here, knock down salt and mineral, because we have this in every pen. They just tap it down so that they have a good flow in there. and then I go back and make sure that nothing has fallen into the drinkers, making them dirty. And while I do that, Arnie is in charge of feeding, which, like I said, at this time of year, it involves bringing in a round bale of hay, dropping it at the end of the feeder. He'll take the strings off and roll that bale out right to the end of the feeder. And this bale will feed these sheep in this barn for about a day and a half. There's approximately, this might feed them for a day actually. There's about 100 sheep in this barn, and a bale usually lasts a day with 100 sheep. Barn just got their hay rolled out, and what was left is sitting in round format at the end of the barn, for the same reason we talked about the sheep getting stale feed in the other barn. If we rolled it back and just made this pack thicker for them, over a day it would get musty and stale, and birds would put droppings in there, rats would run across it. So we find that leaving the leftover in bale form keeps it tight and fresh longer. And tonight, once they've eaten up all the hay that he just rolled out, he'll just come back and roll the bale back the other way, and that's when they'll have their dinner, and each meal will taste as fresh as the first one. So today's mishap in this barn is Arnie left the gate open all night, so these guys were free to roam around in here. But luckily this pen is empty right now because the straggler group is all gone from there. So no rams were jumping in with ewes or anything like that. So all was good. So Arnie just got their feed from the bin that we have a storage bin at the front of each barn. What we've been doing with the rams for the last little while, and we're going to do it from now on, is we add a scoop of limestone to that 35-pound grain mixture, and we feed that to the rams. See, I don't know if you saw that, but that ram pushed on Arnie because he wanted the grain. That's the problem with the rams being up front here, because they're loose. Normally they'd be behind the gate and Arnie can get the grain and stuff without everybody kind of swarming them. But today they're out, but they're gonna get their grain with the limestone. It's crushed limestone, which is supposed to work wonders on preventing urinary calculi in rams, and it's a problem we have and don't like, and we're hoping this is the solution. So this final coverall with all our replacement lambs has been fed. And all of these guys are free to go out to pasture. So the rams exit the barn through the front, and they go into a front pasture over there to graze. They're free to come and go all day long as they please. And our ewe lambs, they have access to the back pasture over here. So I've just opened the gates, as you can see. They're free to come and go as they please as well. And at night we lock them in the barns for their own safety because of coyotes. And by doing that, we've never had a coyote loss here. Hi, sweetheart. You're lovely. You're just lovely. You're also lovely. Yes, you are. The gate's open for you. Hi. As you can see, the rams have headed out to their pasture already for their time of grazing and rambunctious behavior. Right now the ewes are all coming out the barn here. They're technically ewe lambs. Oh, we got one with diarrhea there. Probably more to do with the lush grass right now than parasites. But they were introduced to a new paddock last night, so they've got to learn the routine of how to get into the paddock because it's kind of a convoluted route for them. Once they've learned where the gates are, they're okay, but right now they aren't sure where the gate is. They have to get used to going into that pasture because once they get to the end of the laneway, it's a big open pasture, and yesterday they were afraid to go into it. Out for lunch. Say hi. I can't believe the weather here today. It still looks like fall somewhat. It feels like summer. I think it's 23 degrees Celsius today. And it's nearing the end of October. And the prairies are having snowstorms. Truly is weird weather, but this weather that we're having, I'll take it for sure. It's just beautiful here today. You hate to disturb everyone, but it's afternoon bottle feeding time. And when I go in, everybody's gonna get disturbed. Just gotta chase all the girls back to their barn because they're all laying outside the other coverall. But the water for them is in their coverall, so just want to make sure that they understand they can get water by going through this gate over here. There, now they've seen their barn. They got a little confused, I think. Okay, I got them all back. So they can have a drink if they need any. And all the rams were here at the fence to guide them in. What are you guys doing? Hey? What are you guys doing out there? This is the girls' fence. I think you know it. And since we've got everyone in, I think we're going to call that a night. These guys will go out again for sure, but at least they've got some water. Hopefully they'll figure out that this is where they come to get their water when they're in the new pasture. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you'll join us again tomorrow for the next episode at Ewetopia Farms. Bye for now.